Alright, next up we got Rootbee playing as Gold Nod against AOD Gaming playing as Blue GDI. Playing on Tournament Desert. So GDI tends to be not favored on this map due to the openness of it. Nod can exploit it quite heavily in terms of sending their bikes and buggies into your opponent's tip field, getting the harves, or going straight for the Conyard. And I looks like AOD Gaming here is going for quite an extreme Conyard move. This is very far. A few GDI players like to kind of deploy around this area, or here even, just so they're able to better defend this and then close it off. But coming all the way over here, we'll see what he's got in the works. So Rootbee is currently chilling on one. Ref went for the insta deploy, so he's going to be a little bit ahead of AOD's building. But we shall see what's in store. First ref now going in for AOD, meanwhile Rootbee on the second one. So that move has cost quite a lot of time. It's going to make a slight eco impact. There's the third ref. And the thing with Rootbee's refs here, usually you see players position it outwards this way. By having them all clumped up here, you're going to mine out this section of the field super fast and end up going long distance mining very early. Meanwhile AOD's got two harves here. He's done a little bit of anti-scouting, so Rootbee has hit a few notes here, and we'll see the top of that rack, so know that AOD is crawling along the right hand side. Meanwhile, AOD is sending his units out to try and suss out what Rootbee is up to. Going to get a little scared here, he spots the Conyards, that's a big deal. I'll let him know if he goes all in. Here we have the harves, three refs. They've come out. It's always a little bit risky putting these in direct parallel like this just because of how buggy the Harv AI can get. Rootbee opting for a very forward power plan. Not quite sure what his intention is with this. Maybe it's part of the crawl this way, but this is very far forward. So we see AOD is kind of securing the top here, potentially unaware that Rootbee actually has seen the tip of his racks. We see the tree ref down with the racks.
Ready.
And we have a forward war factory.
Construction complete.
Wouldn't necessarily recommend this unless you're going to be able to get a lot of grens on top of it, because if you're not careful, bikes might be able to reach over this ledge. I'm not too sure, but I'd say one or two bikes here could start hitting this. So we see Rootbee continuing his crawl. He's going to be able to get up his 4 ref, so he now has a slight eco lead. AOD Gaming is hopping on the Humvee train. He's going for the ref here. The nice idea, I think the positioning of it is kind of disadvantaged him quite badly because of the rocks here. Instead of the harp being able to go around to the right, go around the left hand side, which I think is slightly lower travel distance, it's still all the way around the right hand side, which is a pain. But we see the engagement here. Humvees are getting kind of destroyed by the equivalent force here. See a few bikes popping out from Rootbee. We see AOD now up to 5 ref. He's got 2 on this field. The nice thing about this is you're contesting it with your opponent, so they're not going to get the full field spread the tail one way or the other. It tends to be what I like is CDI to crawl along one side. But Rootbee coming in here is going to potentially get this ref with the harv in it. It's going to be tight. And he gets it. That's pretty big. So at this point now, AOD is down to 4 ref versus 5. It's a nice snipe from Rootbee. It is a little bit awkward because of the placement here of AOD structures for Rootbee to get in here and snipe the war factory. Because he has to kind of come past this like big pile of grens here, and once you're in here, you're kind of trapped if you go either way. But we can see AOD continuing to build into this way. Generally, as a Nod player, if GDI builds into you, you want to kind of build out here a little bit and have like a hand in Nod and then spit out the flamers here. But instead, Rootbee's just pulled away and left his power plant here to get sniped. He's going to lose that. He's up to 2 strip now. AOD, meanwhile, still in the 1 war factory, but he's now transitioning away from the Humvees and into medium tanks. Which is interesting because it seems that Rootbee has switched his army's composition primarily to buggies at this point, so the transition to medium tanks is definitely going to work in AOD's favor. Don't want to lose a Harv. Oh, that's 2 Harvs he's after losing now. You see, he's still massing buggies. At this point, you should consider mixing in at least a couple of bikes. There's not a huge amount of infantry. Granted, they could appear at any moment. Nice forward guard tower coming out from AOD. That's definitely going to be useful in terms of trying to hold this Rex. It's a big headache for the non-opponent to deal with, especially when the Harrows try and come in for this tib. So he's more or less secured there. So AOD's gotten the 2nd War Factory up, now he's sold his Conyard. So he's currently on 3 ref, 2 War Factory, versus Rupee, who's on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ref, 2 strip. This is dangerous. He's likely to lose both of these refs at this point. It's been very hard to hold against this, especially with this many bikes and this little small force of Grens. We see a couple of flanks going off from AOD. So he's got the main force here, he's got one here, but he's also sent off the engineer cell units here. So we'll likely see them pop up along the side of the map and capture a ref or 2. Gotta be careful of these bikes, need to keep the infantry around it to prevent Nod from picking them off with the weak bikes. This is nice by Rupee, just getting in, seeing the weakness, doing whatever damage he can, and then popping back out. This is very scary at the moment for Rupee. Has no Conyards, so can't pop up any turrets. Using the 1 strip. This is all he has at this point. Meanwhile, AOD is still floating 1k in the bank. Sold his 2nd War Factory, or his 1st one, whatever way you want to look at it. And at the moment, this is so many medium tanks for Rupee to deal with. Not enough bikes to really do the damage that needs to be done. That said, there's a lot of buggies. You can see how slowly they take away at the health, and now he's starting to get a few rocket men in place. Looks like AOD might have shift 8 because you see these guys coming up now. Of course, wants to get the racks. Rocketman can pack a bit of a punch, but a few Grens and it's just so expensive as well. Like for every single Rocketman he's having here, he's not getting a buggy. And you see the engineer coming up. Oh, it's gonna get shut off. No free airstrip for AOD at this point. But yeah, Rupee's pretty broke now. It looks like that's pretty much going to be GG. AOD's going to take it. Interesting build over from AOD in this map. Opening up with the 3 ref on the bottom, then the 2 ref on the opponent's field, mixing in the 2 War Factories, and then sending it. It's definitely interesting. It's always tricky for GDI to make it work on this map when you do macro plays, but as I said before, when you tend to go up the sides, it helps you quite a bit. I do worry about certain Nod players being very conscious of your War Factory placement, or at least the first one here, and just being able to shoot over the cliff and taking some serious damage to the War Factory. But once you hold this side and this side, it'll be very difficult to get in here and deal with it. The other thing is Rupee kind of, when he had the 2 refs here and built the power plant, even though you're right here, he kind of stopped his crawl. It would have been nice to see him put down turrets here and coming forward with a hand and nod. And then the flamers would be able to deal with all of the ground pressure here. And your key concern at that point then will be dealing with guard towers if they pop up, which a couple of bikes can deal with. And then you can also put turrets here to contest it yourself and shoot off his harms. But yeah, interesting game. GG's. Well played, AOD.
Battle